Good morning, namaskar and welcome to the course once again. In the previous lecture, if you remember, we discussed the rate analysis for direct cost items. Some of the examples that we took for illustration was to compute the labor cost, material cost, plant and equipment cost. We explained you two methods of rate analysis. First, we explained you unit rate method of estimation, and subsequently we learnt operational estimation process. In some of the cases, if you remember, we had to club both these methods. So, we employed unit rate estimation method also and we employed operational estimation method also. In this class also, we will continue our discussion. We will see some of the analysis pertaining to direct cost, and then the remaining lecture would be devoted to computation of indirect cost items. So, straight away we move to one item which we call it as subcontractor cost computation. See what happens once you have decided as a contractor to sublet the work to some agency at the time of tendering, you will prepare a tender document for them also. Say for example, we are going in for waterproofing work. So, what I do? All the documents pertaining to waterproofing work, I will collect it from the main tender document. So, some portion I will collect it from bill of quantity, some portion I will collect it from specification, some portion I will collect it from tender drawings, and some of them I can get it from general contract conditions. All these I put together, I keep it as a separate document and I invite some of the leading subcontractors who are engaged in waterproofing works. Sometimes client may tell me whom should I contact, whether I have to contact agency A, B, C or D. In some cases they may not even tell us. So, in that case, from my data bank I know who are the reputed subcontractors engaged in waterproofing work, and accordingly I will invite them to bid for this particular project. So, I will give them this particular document and I will tell them to give their rates in maybe next 4 or 5 days. Now, suppose I have got the rates from, let us say 4 subcontractors rather, then how do I evaluate these? Sometimes you will find that some contractors exclude water charges, some of them they may exclude electricity, some may not even consider taxes. So, what we have to do when you analyze these subcontractor rates, you have to make sure that they are at the same platform. So, in order to understand this, we have taken one small example in which let us assume that we are trying to select a subcontractor, and for this we have given the bid document to 4 subcontractors. Now, as a contractor I have estimated that if I have to provide electricity to the subcontractor, I may incur a cost of 25,000. Likewise, I have further estimated that if someone is not considering plant and machinery for the work, and if I have to provide the plant and machinery to the subcontractor, it would cost me 75,000. I also know that the tax applicable for this item is at present 12%. Now, as I told you, I have invited the bid from 4 subcontractors and let us say I have got these bids from them. So, first contractor has given me a bid of 5,50,000, second one has submitted a bid of 520,000, the third one has given me a bid of 475,000 and fourth subcontractor has given me a bid of 490,000 against the set of items for which I have invited the bid. Now, if you look at these heads, taxes, electricity, plant and machinery, you will find that subcontractor 1 has considered all of them. So, his price includes the taxes, includes the electricity, includes the plant and machinery. But when it comes to subcontractor 2, he has not included the taxes in his rates, but he has included the electricity, included the plant and machinery cost. The third subcontractor, if you can see carefully here, taxes are included in his rates, but no electricity, no plant and machinery. And finally, when you look at the bid of the subcontractor 4, it has included the taxes, but it has not included the electricity cost and plant and machinery cost. Now, it would be unfair if you just simply look at the price and award the contract to the subcontractor 3, because his price is the lowest if you look at these 4 figures. But if you look at carefully here in this particular table, you will find that this subcontractor has not included the electricity cost, they have not included the cost towards plant and machinery. So, we have to load it suitably on these rates. So, let us try to work it out the total cost implication for each of these prices. So, as far as subcontractor 1 is concerned, his prices include taxes. So, no addition of 12%, electricity also included in this, plant and machinery also included in this. So, whatever price I have received, that is the final one. When it comes to subcontractor 2, I have to load a tax of 12%. So, 12% of 5,20,000, it is 62,400. Electricity charges are included. So, no addition here, no addition here for plant and machinery. Total bid amount, if you add both of them, you are getting 5,82,400. Subcontractor 3, if you see, they have included the taxes in their rates. So, I am not adding anything here. They have not included electricity charges, neither they have included plant and machinery charges. So, I am adding 25,000 additional here and 75,000 additional here. So, all put together you find this total is coming to be 575,000. So, you can see there has been a cost implication of 100,000 here. So, when you add 100,000 in 475,000, you are getting 575,000. Let us go to the subcontractor 4. Here you find he has given you a quote of 490,000. Now, you add electricity here 25,000, add the cost towards plant and machinery 75,000. So, this is coming out to be 590,000. Now, all these 4 total values, now they are at par, because all the things that should have been included are now included in all the prices. Now, it is not very difficult for us to see which one is the most appropriate bid. So, I will find that subcontractor 1, his rate is 550,000, that is the most economical one, and this price I am going to quote to my client as a contractor. So, this is how you carry out the subcontractor cost calculation. Now, we will see some of the indirect cost, because we have already completed our discussion on labor cost computation, material cost computation, plant and equipment cost computation, and subcontractor cost computation. So, these are part of my direct cost. Now, we will see some of the indirect cost computations. For example, we will see how to take care of labor benefits. For this, we need to calculate what could be the possible number of workers that I would be employing at my project site on a monthly basis. Then I would also like to calculate some of the heads of overhead costs. For example, how much stock I am going to keep it at site, how much fixed asset I am going to mobilize at site, how much is the average funds that I am going to employ at site. Remember, all these have a price implication, because the more stocks you have at the site, the more working capital you have at site, the more cost implication as a contractor for you. Now, each one of these costs must be accounted for if you want your price to reflect the reality. If you would not consider these things and put it in your prices, you might find that you will incur heavy losses once you start the project. So, we will check each of these components one by one, and we will see how do we take care of these heads. So, let us try to work out the monthly requirement and labor benefits for a particular project. For this, we are given the schedule of quantities, and we are also given the month-wise split of quantities, and we are supposed to find the average monthly labor requirement and the associated labor benefit that we have to incur. So, let us say this is the construction schedule that we have prepared. In the project, I have to carry out 5,000 cubic meter of earthwork, 2,000 cubic meter of concrete, 14,000 square meter of shuttering, 250 metric ton of structural steel and reinforcement, brickwork 1700 cubic meter, plastering 20,000 square meter, painting 5,000 square meter, and aluminum work 300 square meter. So, these are the quantities that we have been given for a particular project, and what I have done, I have prepared the construction schedule and I have also estimated the month-wise quantities. In one of the lectures, I emphasized the importance of preparing the construction schedule, and I told you that this construction schedule is the genesis of many other associated schedules. I will illustrate you how to prepare other schedules, but before that we will start with labor schedule first. Now, you can see here, out of this 5000 cubic meter of earthwork, I have a plan to do 250 cubic meter in month 1, 750 in month 2, 1000 in month 3, 1250 in month 4, 1250 in month 5 and 500 in month 6. So, the total earthwork I am planning to do it in 6 months time. Likewise, concrete 2000 cubic meter, I have split it in 200, 400, 400, 500, 300 and 200. Likewise, for all the items, whether it is centering and shuttering, reinforcement, brickwork, I have given the schedule, that means how many months I am going to take it and what is the quantity that I am going to do on a monthly basis. Now, you will see how using this schedule and month wise quantity estimate, I am going to derive my labor schedule. When I say labor schedule, that means I am interested in finding how many laborers are needed in month 1, how many in month 2 and how many in month 3 and so on. So, let us try to find out the labor requirement for month 1. Month 1 I am doing only one activity, that is earthwork. How much quantity I am doing? 250 cubic meter. So, how do I calculate the labor requirement? 250 cubic meter. Now, the productivity norm for earthwork is about 3 man hours per cubic meter. So, that means for doing 250 cubic meter, I would require 750 man hours. If I divide it by 10, if I am working for 10 man hours every day, it could be 75. And if you are working for 25 days a month, so the number of workers that are required for month 1 in excavation alone is 3. What I have done? What is the total quantity that we have a plan to do in month 1? It is 250. What is the productivity that you get for earthwork? So, it is about 3 man hours per cubic meter. So, that means for doing 1 cubic meter, one worker would be employed for 3 hours. That way they will do 1 cubic meter of earthwork. So, total would be 250 into 3 man hours, 750 man hours. Now, if you are working for 10 man hours in a day, so you require 75 man days. Now, if you are working for 25 days in a month, you require 3 workers. So, earthwork month 1 we require 3 workers. In the same manner, I can calculate my monthly requirement for month 2 by calculating the individual labor requirement for earthwork, concrete work, centering and shuttering and reinforcement. For example, for concreting normally we take 18 man hours per cubic meter. So, for calculating the concrete, it would be done like this. If you see here, concreting, it is 200 cubic meter multiplied by 18 man hours per cubic meter divided by 10 divided by 25. So, this will be the worker required for doing concreting in month 2. So, whatever quantity of workers I am getting for concreting, whatever quantity I am getting it for centering, whatever quantity I am getting it for reinforcement and whatever quantity I am getting it for earthwork, I will add all of them, and that way I am getting a total of 51 workers for month 2. So, you can see this table is giving me month wise labor requirement. For month 1 I have already explained you, I am getting 3 workers because only one activity earthwork is in progress in month 1. Month 2 I am doing 4 activities: earthwork, concreting, formwork and reinforcement. Now, depending on the productivity that you assume, you can calculate the monthly labor required. So, 9 here for earthwork, 14 for concreting, 22 for formwork and 6 for reinforcement. These are the productivity norms which you can note from this particular slide. For earthwork, I am considering 3 man hours per cubic meter. For concreting, 18 man hours per cubic meter. For formwork, 4 man hours per square meter. Reinforcement, I am considering 60 man hours per metric ton. For brickwork, 12 man hours per cubic meter. For plastering, 1 man hour per square meter. For painting, 2 man hour per square meter. And for aluminium work, 9 man hour per square meter. So, knowing this, I can calculate the month wise labor requirement for the entire duration of the project. So, you can see here month 1 3, month 2 51, month 3 103. Likewise, you find in the last month you require only 8 workers. Now, these are the workers which are needed for direct items like earthwork, concreting, formwork and so on. In addition to this, there are certain other workers also which are required at site. For example, you would require workers in the stores, you would require workers in time office, you would require workers for doing office work, you would require some workers for operating curing pump, you would require certain persons for safety. So, they are all coming under miscellaneous labor. So, what I will do? I will have a fixed miscellaneous labor every month and I will add that particular miscellaneous labor in the labor requirement which we have calculated just now. So, if you see at this particular slide, this is what I have done. So, the top row you can see 351, 100, 322, 156, 111, all these we just now calculated, and now we are adding miscellaneous workers. These workers are coming from which departments? Safety, time office, your planning office, your accounts office and so on. So, now I can easily calculate the total for the month. So, month 1 I require 3 plus 9 which is 12, month 2 51 plus 9 60, month 3 112, month 4 131 and so on. So, this is giving me the monthly labor required for that particular project. Now, from this I can calculate the average number of workers that are needed. So, I will add all of them. So, 12 plus 60 plus 112 plus 131, I will continue adding up to last column and then I divide it by 10. So, you will find that I am getting the average requirement of workers as 78. So, if you want to convert it in man hour basis, so 78 into every day we are working for 10 hours and let us say we have worked for 26 days in a month. So, the total man hour is coming to be 20,280. Now, this figure, man hour figure is very important. If you want to compare different projects, let us say across different countries, the cost term will not give you a correct comparison. But if you talk in terms of man hours, whether it could be million man hours or so on, it will give you the nature of complexities involved in that particular project. So, just by quoting this particular example that okay, I did a particular project which involved 10 million man hours or 1 million man days. This is giving me the extent of work that I performed. But if I would have told you that okay, I did a project of $5 million in US, I just simply can't get a feeling what was the extent of work there, how complicated it was. But if you are talking in terms of man days, it always gives you some kind of a feeling that okay, this must be the nature of project or this must be the level of project, whether large or small. You can judge it using the number of man hours that you have estimated for your particular project. Now, we will see some more examples. Let us say once you have calculated the number of labors, then we can calculate how much benefit we have to be considering it in our estimate. So, whatever is the wages, we can on an average take 20% of that to consider for bonus. EPF, which is employees provident fund, and family pension, roughly we can take about 12%. ESI, which is employees state insurance, I will take about 6.25%. So, if you add all this, this is one part of labor benefit. We will see what other things are also coming under the labor benefit. They are your retrenchment. So, every worker that you retrench, you have to pay them 15 days of salary, and notice pay you have to pay them 26 days salary. So, whatever is the category of the worker, whether skilled, semi-skilled or unskilled, so you multiply with that wages and then you get this value, let us say D. So, the previous one, so this value plus this value which is on account of retrenchment and notice pay, you add it up and you get the total labor benefit. This is what you have to include in your price when you are submitting the bid. Now, we take another example of overhead cost, which is the financing towards maintaining your stock. So, first we will understand how do we calculate the stock. This again we can do with the help of one small example. Now, in this particular example, essentially we are considering the stock value of materials such as cement, coarse aggregate, fine aggregate, reinforcement, structural steel, plywood and timber. What is happening? If you are stocking these materials in your stores, you are blocking some amount of money. Now, if this money would have been invested somewhere else, it would have fetched you some return. Now, that return you are no longer getting, because you have invested in these stock and these stocks are sitting idle in your stores. So, we must load the financing charges for losing the return which I would have got otherwise through this particular project itself. So, I would like to know what is the average stock that I will be keeping in case I am getting this project. So, from the average stock we can see how to calculate the financing charges. So, first part we will see how to calculate the stock for cement, for coarse aggregate, for fine aggregate and so on. So, let us say we want to continue with the same example and we want to find the stock of cement required for month 2. So, if you go back to the previous slide, if you see here, month 1 you do not require any stock because you are doing only earthwork. So, you do not require any material, but month 2 if you see, what are the things you are doing? You are doing 200 cubic meter of concreting, you are doing 1400 square meter of shuttering and you are doing 25 tons of structural steel. So, for doing this work we require certain kind of stocks to be built. Now, when you are doing 200 cubic meter of concrete, what is the quantum of cement that you would like to keep it with you, so that 200 cubic meter of concrete can be done in an uninterrupted manner. So, irrespective of what grade of concrete we are producing, let us assume that we will be requiring about 6.5 bags of cement per cubic meter. So, I have to do 200 cubic meter, this multiplied by 6.5. So, that means I require 1300 bags of cement in that particular month itself. Now, suppose that there is a lead time of about 15 days. That means, the moment I place the order and the time I receive the material, I spend 15 days time. So, for how many days we need to keep the stock? That means, if I require 1300 bags and my lead time is 15 days, I must have a stock of 650 bags. So, now the cost of 650 bags is my stock value for cement alone. Now, suppose you are getting the cement for let us say 380 or 400. So, 650 multiplied by 400 will be the stock value for that month for cement alone. Now, in the same manner you can do it for steel also. For example, you are requiring 25 tons of steel. So, here again suppose the lead time for steel is 15 days. So, that means you need to have a stock of 12.5 tons, right. So, 12.5 tons multiplied by let us say if you are getting the steel at 40,000, that will be the stock for that particular month for steel alone. So, this way I can carry on for all the materials which are required for that particular month. I have to do it for coarse aggregate, I have to do it for fine aggregate, I have to do it for plywood. All these values I can easily calculate depending on the lead time that is applicable for that particular procurement of material. Now, if I go on calculating this, I will be able to find how much stock is needed in month 2, how much stock is needed in month 3, how much stock is needed in month 4, how much in month 5 and so on. So, I have done these calculations. In order to save time, I straight away give you the values, and as I told you, this is how you can calculate, say for example, cement for first month, second month, third month, fourth month and up to 10 months, these values are given. Coarse aggregate, how much money will be blocked every month, that has been calculated. How much money is blocked in fine aggregate, that is calculated. In reinforcement, in plywood, in timber. So, depending on your problem, we can calculate. For example, in this particular problem, I have assumed that month 1 I am doing an invoice of 2%. This is a slightly different example which I am doing. What has been done in this is, I am assuming that the cost of providing the temporary structure is 34 lakhs. For this also I can show you the working how it is done, but for the time being just assume that cost of providing temporary structure is 34 lakhs. What are the things that come under temporary structures? You will see it from this slide. You will construct the site office, cement go down, stores, client office, architect office, maintenance workshop, carpentry shop, canteen, labor hutment, site barricading, computers, client facilities. These are the things that we consider under temporary structure. Now, depending on how many workers I have to employ, how many staff I am going to employ, I can calculate the quantity required for each of these facilities. Now, these are temporary structures. So, cost is going to be very less compared to the permanent structure construction. So, for each one of them I will assume what is the cost likely to be incurred by me. So, the area multiplied by unit cost, I will get the total cost. So, for all the temporary structures item I will add it up, and that way I will get the total cost of putting up the temporary structure, right, because when you want to run a site you will have to erect these facilities and you will be incurring cost also. So, this slide tells you how to calculate the cost pertaining to temporary structures, and I have got a figure of 33,98,000. This is what I am rounding it off to 34 lakhs. Now, this value I am using it in the next problem. So, I am saying that the contractor's estimated cost of construction of temporary structure is 34 lakhs. The month-wise estimated invoice is also given. So, that means how much billing we are going to do every month is also estimated. So, for example, if you see month 1 I am going to invoice 2%, month 2 again 10%, month 3 15%, 4 20%, month 5 15% and so on. Now, I have to calculate the average monthly stock value for this particular project. So, once you know the invoice and you know what kind of materials are needed, how much money would be needed for keeping that in stock, you can find out the monthly value of these stocks. Now, you will add them up. For example, in the first case I am adding the cement cost, the coarse aggregate cost, the fine aggregate, reinforcement, plywood, timber, all of them I am adding and I am getting monthly cost implication for these. Then I am also adding the cost towards temporary structure. Now, what is done is, in the case of temporary structure, I am not putting the total cost in the very beginning itself. So, if you remember, we arrived at a figure of 34 lakhs for our temporary structure. Now, this cost I am not putting right at the beginning, although I am spending this whole money right at the beginning, because until unless I have got these facilities erected, I will not be able to proceed further. But the accounting practice is to distribute this cost also in a pro rata manner. So, if I am doing the invoicing of 2% in month 1, I will book the cost of only 2% of 34 lakhs in my first month. If I am doing an invoicing of 10% in month 2, I am going to add 10% of 34 lakhs in my month 2 as the stock. If I do not do it this way in a pro rata manner, you will find that it becomes very unbalanced kind of a situation. So, in order to avoid that, this is how the accounting practice exists, that you distribute it in a pro rata manner. So, even though you are spending the whole money at the very beginning, it is a practice to distribute it on a pro rata basis. So, that is what has been done here. If you look at this, so 2% of 34 lakhs is 0.68, 10% of 34 lakhs is 3.4, 15% of 34 lakh is 5.1. Now, this and this we are adding and we are getting this figure. So, total stock value in month 1 is 7.28, month 2 is 14.2, month 3 is 22.9 and so on. Cumulative stock also we can derive out of this. So, we find that a cumulative stock of 189 lakh would be needed at my project site. Now, so using this I can easily find out the monthly stock, average monthly stock. So, 189 lakh is the cumulative stock, that divided by 10 gives me 18.5 lakh. So, this is how you calculate the monthly stock, average monthly stock. Now, what is this figure representing? It simply says that in order to run this particular project, I have to block 18.5, 18.9 lakhs as stock in my stores. Then only I can run my project in a smooth manner. So, this 18.9 lakh, whatever is blocked, I must get a return out of it. So, whatever is the interest I am losing, at least that I will put it in the indirect cost, and that is what we will be doing. Now, there are few more items which is coming under the working capital. So, basically we are trying to find the total working capital that I need to employ at my project site. So, one of the components of working capital is stock, and that is why I told you this calculation process. Then the next step is how much, or rather for what value we are keeping the fixed assets at our project site. So, how do we calculate those fixed assets? So, you have different types of fixed assets. So, you are bringing equipment. Say for example, I am doing, let us say, a project in which I am bringing mixer machines. You can see here I am bringing mixer machines, I am bringing weigh batchers, I am bringing builder hoist, I am bringing dewatering pump. Now, each of these machines come with a particular book value, and you are already exposed to the concept of depreciation. So, every month you can calculate the depreciation. Now, suppose that this particular equipment is there at the site for 10 months, this is also for 10 months, this is also for 10 months, and dewatering pump is needed only for 6 months. So, what I will do? I will calculate at what book value these assets came at my site, and at what book value these assets went from my site. I can calculate the average book value. So, this average book value multiplied by the number of equipment that I have will give me the total fixed assets that I have mobilized for that particular site. Now, the total fixed asset value divided by the number of months, let us say 10 months, will give me the average fixed asset. So, I have told you how to calculate the stock, average stock, how to calculate the average fixed assets. Now, I will tell you how to calculate the outstanding. What is outstanding? You know that a contractor is supposed to be raising the bill every month. Ideally, the contractor should be paid then and there itself, but it is not done that way. So, normally there is a time gap between the time you submit the bill and the time you get the payment. So, normally that time lapse is about 1 month. So, you raise the bill today and you get paid nearly after 1 month. So, for this much time your this much money is blocked. So, that should also earn some return to you. So, you can calculate how much money is blocked by the client in this process for the total duration of the project. That divided by the total duration will give you the average outstanding value. That means, this much money on an average is getting blocked. Sometimes you may also have to consider for the unadjusted advance. What happens, if you remember, in one of the lectures we discussed about mobilization advance. So, mobilization advance is paid by the client to the contractor in some cases. Say for example, 10% mobilization advance has been paid to the contractor for, let us say, 30 crore job. So, 3 crore is with the contractor. Now, for how much time this money is there with you, that also needs to be accounted for, because this is the money which you have got it without doing any work so far. Of course, you might have deposited the bank guarantee, but this is not against the work that you carried out for that particular client in that particular project. No, it is not that way. So, this much has to be deducted from your working capital computation. So, now you can see working capital is essentially consisting of a number of components. When we take up the accounting topic, we will discuss this in more details. We will again come back to the computation of stock, computation of fixed assets, computation of outstanding, computation of unadjusted advance, computation of average funds employed. And that way we will see how much is the working capital required for running a particular project in a smooth manner. Now, on that particular working capital, I will see how much to load in this particular project, because this much working capital is blocked. So, I am losing interest, I am losing return on this money. So, I must earn at least equal to what I would have earned from other places from this particular project itself. So, all these things we will discuss in detail when we separately take up this particular working capital exercise in some other lectures. So, in this particular lecture, what we have learned today is how to carry out the analysis of subcontractor cost, how to carry out the analysis of some indirect cost items such as labor cost computations, stock computation, average funds employed, unadjusted advance, working capital, and so on. Of course, we had to do it very briefly because of the time constraint, but I can assure you that we will take this up in detail when we take up the exercise in working capital computation. So, till then we stop at this particular point. Thank you very much and see you some other time.